So I'm going straight to the White House. US Treasury sanctions major Russian oil companies and calls on Moscow to immediately agree to a ceasefire. US Treasury sanctions major Russian oil companies and they call on Moscow to immediately agree to ceasefire. And let me just check one more just real quick. So this just came out 2 hours ago. So this is new. Hot off the press. Today, the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is imposing further sanctions as a result of Russia's lack of serious commitment to a peace process to end the war in Ukraine. Today's actions increase pressure on Russia's energy sector and degrade the Kremlin's ability to raise revenue for its war machine and support its weakened economy. The United States will continue to advocate for a peaceful resolution to the war, and a permanent peace depends entirely on Russia's willingness to negotiate in good faith. Treasury will continue to use its authorities in support of a peace process. So my initial question has to do with Europe. Where's Europe going to get all their energy from? Because a substantial portion of Europe's energy comes from Russia. So if they're imposing heavy sanctions on Russia's biggest oil companies, does that mean that the United States might be subsidizing a lot of that oil? If that indeed is what's happening, if it's going to restrict Russia's ability to send oil to Europe, I guess that would be my first question. And if that's the case, yeah, where's Europe going to get their oil from? And are they okay with that? But maybe not. I mean, it is coming from the Treasury Department, so probably just financial sanctions. I'm no expert on the economy, no expert on sanctions, but maybe they'll detail it in this. So anyway, I'll just continue. So, quote, now is the time to stop the killing and for an immediate ceasefire, says Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent. Quote, given President Putin's refusal to end this senseless war, Treasury is sanctioning Russia's two largest oil companies that fund the Kremlin's war machine. Treasury is prepared to take further action if necessary to support President Trump's effort to end yet another war. We encourage our allies to join us in and adhere to these sanctions. I guess I'd be asking Europe because, I stand by what I said. If they're sanctioning the largest oil companies that are funding Kremlin's war machine, by proxy, it's Europe that's really funding the Kremlin's war machine because they're buying billions of dollars worth of oil and other energy resources directly from Russia. So today's action targets Russia's two largest oil companies, Open Joint Stock Company, Rosneft Oil Company, and Lukoil, OAO, which are now designated. Rosneft is a vertically integrated energy company specializing in the exploration, extraction, production, refining, transport, and sale of petroleum, natural gas, and petroleum products. Lukoil engages in the exploration, production, refining, marketing, and distribution of oil and gas in Russia and internationally. Rosneft and Lukoil are being designated pursuant to Executive Order 14024 for operating or having operated in the energy sector of the Russian Federation economy. Additionally, OFAC is designating a number of Russia-based Rosneft and Lukoil subsidiaries, a list of which is available in Annex 1 below. All entities owned 50% or more directly or indirectly by Rosneft and Lukoil are blocked pursuant to EO 14024, even if not designated by OFAC. So this is Annex 1. Rosneft and Lukoil's subsidiaries. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word. All right, the following Russia-based Lukoil and Rosneft subsidiaries are being designated pursuant to Executive Order 14024, once again for operating or having operated in the energy sector of the Russian Federation economy. Lukoil's subsidiary is limited liability company Lukoil Perm is involved in geological exploration and oil and gas production in Russia. Same with Lukoil or AIKA limited liability. But anyway, I'm not going to go through all of this. It's a lot of really boring jargon. So, we get the gist of it. These are all a bunch of oil companies. They're all operating in Russia. Russia, they're not quitting the war in Ukraine. And they're getting a lot of their money from these oil companies. And the Treasury Department, they're making a move against these oil companies. And the subsidiaries, which are substantial. There's a lot of them. And they're being financially sanctioned. So here's the implications of the sanctions. As a result of today's action, all property and interests in property of the designated or blocked persons described above are in the United States or in the possession or control of U.S. persons are blocked and must be reported to OFAC. In addition, any entities that are owned directly or indirectly, individually, or in the aggregate 50% or more by one or more blocked persons are also blocked. unless authorized by a general or specific license issued by OFAC or exempt. OFAC's regulations generally prohibit all transactions by U.S. persons or within or transiting the United States that involve any property or interest in property of blocked persons. Violations of U.S. sanctions may result in the imposition of civil or criminal penalties on U.S. and foreign persons. OFAC may impose civil penalties for sanctions violations on a strict liability basis. OFAC's economic sanctions enforcement guidelines provide more information regarding OFAC's enforcement of U.S. economic sanctions, which I will link that. In addition, financial institutions and other persons may risk exposure to sanctions for engaging in certain transactions or activities with designated or otherwise blocked persons. In addition, foreign financial institutions that conduct or facilitate significant transactions or provide any service involving Russia's military-industrial base, including any persons blocked pursuant to Executive Order 14024, run the risk of being sanctioned by OFAC. For additional guidance, please see the updated OFAC advisory, linked also. Updated guidance for foreign financial institutions on OFAC sanctions authorities targeting support to Russia's military-industrial base, as well as OFAC frequently asked questions. 1146 to 1152 and 1181 to 1182. I'm not going to link all that too, but I already have this linked in the description below. And it goes on a little bit longer, but if you want to read the rest of it, you're welcome to on your own time. Linked below. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you take a quick second to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And check out The Swamp, which drops Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, covering the daily happenings inside the federal machine. Thank you very much for watching.